New financial disclosures show that Donald Trump's campaign is nearly broke. Now, according to these new SEC filings, Trump's campaign raised only $3.1 million in May. Now, to poor people like me, that's a lot of money. Like, I wish I could raise $3.1 million. I wish I could raise $30. I can't even do that on my Patreon, okay? But somehow Donald Trump can raise $3.1 million, and then he'll shits all over it. Great. But that's, of course, money in politics for you. And when it comes to a campaign for president, it's not a lot of money. So to put it into perspective, and maybe in a little bit of a context, the Veronica Mars Kickstarter raised more money than Donald Trump. That's amazing. And also a disaster for Trump. Now, Hillary Clinton raised $28 million, and look at that, Bernie Sanders, still raising money. He raised $15 million in the same time period as Trump's paltry $3.1 million weak sauce campaign. That's amazing. Not only that, but according to these filings, Trump only has $1.3 million cash on hand. Once again, in campaign terms, that is terrible. But there is an explanation on that. Trump doesn't have to keep a lot of cash on hand because he's been kind of self-funding his campaign. So he can just write himself another check. And he's actually done that a few times. But his cash on hand is essentially the equivalent of a mid-tier Senate or House race. But it gets worse for him. Now, according to The Hill, key members of Trump's campaign team, including his top finance chiefs, are actually getting a little nervous about the state of his campaign. In an interview with The Hill on Monday morning, a top Trump fundraiser said he and his colleagues had reached a point of deep frustration at the state of the campaign's money operation. I wonder if that has something to do with Corey Lewandowski leaving the campaign, or I should say getting fired. Now, they said in that interview with The Hill, quote, "Where's the small dollar fundraising? It's not happening so far as I can tell," according to the source, adding in that they were being forced to chase small donors or small dollars because a number of high net worth donors were deciding not to support Donald Trump. So where is his money coming from? Well, it's coming a lot from Trump himself. According to OpenSecrets.org, Trump has loaned his campaign some $46 million so far. Now, of course, one of the things Donald Trump is a little sensitive about is his money. Because without it, he'd be some random racist orange guy with bad hair. So it really kind of gets under his skin when people start to question his wealth. Now, I question his wealth because there's no proof that he's worth $10 billion. If he's worth $10 billion, then he wouldn't have to worry about fundraising. He wouldn't have to worry about trying to tap large donors. He could just self-fund his campaign. Now, maybe he doesn't want to do that, but if you want to be president, you kind of need to have some money. Now, this morning he actually brushed off this terrible fundraising report by saying this.
Now, you understand money, the importance of money. It helps you mount a professional campaign, and it's a sign of whether people are supporting you. So how do you explain those lackluster results?
Okay, let me just tell you this. I understand money better than anybody. I understand it far better than Hillary, and I'm way up on the economy when it comes to questions on the economy. But we have a party that, I mean, I'm having more difficulty, frankly, with some of the people in the party than I have with the Democrats, because they don't want to come on. They will probably eventually come on. Honestly, if they don't, it's just fine. I can win it either way. I mean, I may be better off winning it the opposite way than the more traditional way.
Can you win it if she raises 42 times what you have?
I've raised a lot of money, but you also have to have some help from the party. But I've raised a lot of money. We raised $12 million this weekend. I was in Texas. I was in Arizona. I was in Las Vegas. We raised a lot of money this weekend. I made like 4 or 5 stops, and I'm raising that money for the party. Now,
well, you
if it gets to a point, Matt, excuse me, if it gets to a point, what I'll do is just do what I did in the primaries. I spent $55 million of my own money to win the primaries, 55. Now, you know, that's a lot of money. I mean, by even any standard, I may do that again in the general election.
You just said you're having.
excuse me, Matt, I have a lot of cash, and I may do it again in the general election. But it would be nice to have some help from the party.
Well, maybe instead of raising money for the party, you could raise money for yourself. I'm just saying. Yeah, a lot of that money goes to help just the RNC, not the Trump campaign. But go back to what he said. I understand money more than anybody. Says the guy whose businesses went bankrupt about 4 times. Oh, no. Jeff. Trump supporters will say he was just using the system as it was set up, okay? He was just using the system that was there. That shouldn't be a problem. Well, that's funny, because when Trump uses the system to avoid paying his debts, you think that's super fine and dandy. He is a smart businessman. But when it comes to student loan borrowers who borrow money to go to school, get a degree, can't find a job, and can't pay back their debts, well, they're losers. They're losers. They should be on the hook for the rest of their lives. They shouldn't get out from underneath that debt. Not allowed. But Trump, when he does it, savvy businessman, taking advantage of the system. College student does it, well, maybe you should have thought a little, more about going to school with your liberal arts degree. Which, by the way, there's a lot of people with a lot of different degrees who are facing the same problem. They can't find jobs. And they can't find jobs that pay enough for them to pay off their student loan debts. But no. We're going to make it so that you can't discharge that debt. But if you're Donald Trump and you make a few bonehead moves and destroy your company and decide, well, I'm going to have to declare bankruptcy on that, well, that's okay. I can discharge that, but you can't. That's bullshit. And see, that's the inequity in the system that we're all really pissed off about. And that rich people don't seem to understand. A lot of them anyway. All right. So, look, I know I got off on a tangent there, but I need to get back to how great Trump's campaign is with the money. Now, speaking of investment, right? According to his own FEC filings, Trump paid $1 million into his own companies during the campaign, using campaign funds to essentially pay himself. Now, the figure represents payments for facilities rentals, catering, monthly rents, and utilities at more than a half dozen Trump-owned companies and properties. It includes nearly $350,000 that the Trump campaign paid a Trump-owned company, TAG Air, for the use of Trump's private jets and helicopters. One of the biggest expenses was a figure of $423,000 paid for by the Trump campaign for rentals and catering at Trump's 126-room Palm Beach, Florida mansion, Mar-a-Lago, which Trump operates as a private club. $423,000 on Mar-a-Lago. All right. Though the payment wasn't made, according to this article, the Mar-a-Lago bill likely covers a number of campaign events Trump has staged here in recent months. Not illegal, right? But not great either, since he owns the place. Other Trump-owned recipients of campaign funds include Trump Restaurants, which raked in $125,000 in rent and utilities, Trump Tower Commercial, which charged $72,000 in rent and utilities in the building that houses Trump's campaign headquarters, the Trump National Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida, which collected $35,845 facilities, rental, and catering, and the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, Florida, which billed the campaign for $29,715 for facilities, rentals, and catering. Now, the Huffington Post notes that it is not unusual for candidates to tap their own companies for campaign functions, but the law requires that campaigns pay a fair market value for goods and services so that a campaign's company doesn't make an illegal donation of office space. The Associated Press has also found that expenditures on Trump's own businesses account for 10% of his overall campaign spending so far. So of all the money that his campaign has, 10% of it went right back to Trump. Amazing. Amazing. But wait, there's more. According to an analysis by Politico, Trump's campaign bought $208,000 worth of hats in May. That's a campaign expenditure. We're going to buy Make America Great Again hats. Not only that, they only spent $48,000 on data management and $115,000 on online advertising. Oh, so you're going to spend more on hats than on data management and online advertising. Are you running a campaign or just buying fucking hats? Seriously, this is worse than a game of Team Fortress 2. Anyway, for regular advertising, the Trump campaign apparently spent $35,000 on an ad agency called Draper Sterling. Okay, it sounds like a business name, right? Well, Think Progress looked into Draper Sterling and found that the address for the supposed advertising powerhouse to be a residential address to a fairly decent looking house. Not an office, not anything like that, just some Joe Schmo's house. Weird. Look, everything in this campaign screams con job. Now, how in the world did Donald Trump win the Republican primary with no knowledge on how to run an actual campaign? I don't get it. Actually, I do get it. And it's very, very depressing. Trump's success is all about name recognition and fame. He was on television. He was on Celebrity Apprentice. And that's all people need. Throw in some racism, some fear-mongering, and look, you got Donald Trump. That's it. The bottom line is Trump didn't create the problems in America, right? The problems in America created Donald Trump. And that right there should be, to people watching, the most depressing thing of all.